Greetings, Ranger fans. Jake here with another edition of Database Rangers Power Reviews, where we're taking a look back at our classic episodes of Database Rangers Power Reviews as we count down our 100 weeks to the final episode of the series, coming at us in October of 2022. So welcome to all of those already in the chat. Welcome Sean, Chris, Jalil, Jenny, Lex, Scott. Great to see all of you. I am so sorry, Scott. I just read what you wrote. My condolences for you and your family. Very sorry to hear that. I hope that everyone else is at least doing okay going into their weekend. Hopefully, many of you are going into a 3-day weekend, with it being Memorial Day weekend. I'm going to be seeing my family for the first time in a couple months. They're coming up to visit. So it's been a little hectic trying to get everything wrapped up and ready for their visit. Keeping busy. And then I am still trying to see if I can get a scripted video out for the month of May. I know that I haven't gotten anything scripted out since the last rapid run through and deeper look. But it's been a little tricky working that stuff out while being full-time parent / full-time teacher simultaneously. Well, technically part-time teacher right now, full-time parent. So those are both keeping me busy, plus I'm trying to coordinate everything for filming the final episodes of Power Reviews, which is coming along. I still need to confirm for making sure that the date that is looking good for getting those pickup shots for 93 is actually going to happen. Once I get 100% confirmation on that, I should be good. I've been making very good progress on editing 95, so I can evaluate that and make sure that I get all those pickup shots taken care of, as well as the big major sequences that I'm planning on filming in the month of July. So a lot of stuff. Working to balance it, working to stay on top of everything. And I will definitely have episode 93 out for June. Hopefully 94 as well, if I'm lucky. If I can get something out this weekend, I will, but it is going to be tight. It will probably also be short. I have one or two things in mind. One thing in particular that I just want to see if I can script and put together. But a lot of other things are taking priority with my parents coming up this weekend. So, keeping very busy. But all that said, I hope that everyone else is doing well. And I think we should dive straight on in to this next episode of Database Rangers Power Reviews. But before we do, as always, our 3 equally non-controversial phrases. So, number 1, say it with me, chat, Black Lives Matter. Number 2, say it with me, chat, fascism is bad. And number 3, say it with me, chat, superheroes are fun. So let's review some more reviewing of superheroes with episode 28 of Database Rangers Power Reviews. The review of Power Rangers Megaforce episode 9, the mid-season finale, Prince Takes Night. Ready, and let's go.
Previously on Power Review.
There it goes.
If there's anything I can do to make it up to you, you make sure to let me know.
I still can't believe you told him you couldn't live.
I realize the white balance is a little off right now. I'm going to fix that.
A lockbox along with a folio for a thorough background check.
Did you run a check on me too?
I need to make sure you haven't let someone dangerous into both
That's
of our
all better.
lives. I just want to make sure you got the cake.
Sorry, that I actually accidentally left my camcorder at the school the other day because I've been using it for
What was I supposed to tell?
for
You still haven't made up your
the Google
mind.
Meets with
No
my
one else
students.
has ever seen me.
So I actually had my principal was nice enough to drop it off with me this morning, and I forgot to update it.
Has ever existed. Maybe you should worry a little bit less about whether or not I'm real, and a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, and yes, you are correct,
Okay.
Scott, that the Dino Fury reviews are likely going to be coming out in June as well. So I've got so many videos coming out for June. So hopefully May is a little bit more forgivable.
It's not that easy.
What? Grammarly, what are you doing? No, Grammarly, you're not helping. You're getting in the way. Go away, Grammarly. This is not what the people are here for.
Greetings, Ranger fans.
And here is the first of Database's
And
many emotional breakdowns. Oh,
well,
yeah.
some of you might be
We've
wondering
we've
what I've been
spent
up to
the
since
previous 27 episodes
my last episode.
just building up this
Well,
relationship
I think that guy
between
spoke
him and
about
Dr.
party was
K,
a big
this
success.
friendship between him and Dr. K. And now everything about his
Good
life
times.
has just been thrown into question.
So
Dan, we
I,
just got started. Also, we actually did get that welcome home cake for
She's gone.
Dave. And that is supposed to be the...
Kay is
And
gone.
we made sure
My-
that
my
more
best
Postners
friend
brought
is-
in orange juice for that party moment.
says she's gone, but obviously she was never really here.
This whole take
I wondered what
took quite a
was
few
wrong with me all this time.
runs to make sure that
Maybe you
I
consider too,
got
maybe
it down.
we're all crazy. Maybe
Because I was really trying to dig deep for this one.
you just enjoy watching an obsessive fanboy talk to himself.
It's... And this is also the list where it became very clear that this is
when we started,
a character, not
when I started turning
that this was... It took a while before people really realized that Database is a character and not just me being me.
And welcome to Power Reviews.
Man, and it's crazy to think how much the character has been through since this. Like, this was the big thing that kind of first broke him, but he's since been through so much worse across the course of the series. But this moment was the one that really
Good to
broke
hear
him.
that you're all right. I will be leaving soon and would rather that you didn't do anything ill-advised in my absence,
Well, like what?
like displacing all of the perishables from the refrigerator in an attempt to discover a secret passage.
Good point.
The
Oh.
apartment still smells of sour cream.
True.
There wasn't any sour cream in that refrigerator, was there?
Not when I started.
Of course, he went to check inside the
We have dinner plans.
refrigerator for Dr. K.
How's he doing?
You keep saying he's all right, but I have my doubts.
I don't think he's gonna try and crawl into the refrigerator again, do you?
You know, I can hear you guys.
Sorry.
And he keeps saying, "I am K," and they interpret that as being okay.
When's the last time
Which is
you were
just
out
so
with
broken.
Well, I was not at the mall for a day. How long ago was Christmas?
Maybe you should come with us. It would do you some good to get out.
I don't know if that's such a good idea.
And I also have fun with how much the show plays with time.
Well, if you guys insist.
And Database is such a
Is there a
mooch.
problem with that?
No.
And here we first established the Prius as being a plot point for later. And there's Agent
You don't have to
T.
answer that.
Are you guys really
And the
interested?
other Agent T.
Of course we are.
Well, I actually
T
ran into
Alpha
a bit of
and T
a brick
Beta.
wall recently. Not literally,
Making
of course,
their
not that I
premiere.
can remember.
And
I guess if I had, I
I-
would remember anyway, especially if I was
I
really fast.
appreciate
I'm not
so
really
much
running all that often.
Database?
I
Tom
really need to get on that.
just
What do I do?
committing to this.
Yes.
Why don't you
Because
just
he
call
had to
us
be
and
sitting there
Oh,
for every single shot.
ever
It
since
didn't it didn't matter if it was me performing for the camera, if it was MJ, if it was Dave. Tom just stayed there and sat there
And I'm just
for every single shot.
Well, how many episodes do you have left?
one.
In story, this would have been like
Why don't you tell us about it?
Don't.
I believe like 4 or 5
You guys don't wanna
months
hear me
after
drone on
Christmas.
about a TV show.
You're right.
Come on, it'll make it better.
Well, if you
I love how
think it'll-
Guy is just not helpful in the
Okay,
least.
so I guess let's talk about episode 9 of Power Rangers Megaforce. Prince Takes Night. The episode begins with the Rangers sitting around a table at
This-
the Brain Freeze. recapping the events of last episode for anyone who wasn't paying attention.
Or anyone who didn't watch.
Oh, right. Sorry. Basically, Robo Knight was created
This is
by
also,
Josie, but
like,
lost his memory
the
and
first
thinks he needs to work alone.
real,
Gia thinks he
like,
can, but Jake thinks he's
in the
reckless,
moment
but Troy
review
is too busy thinking about
the
the
database
ultimate
does.
fanfic experience.
Everything up until now has always been within the context of the show. This is of database's
No self-respecting
web
scientist
show.
would ever say that.
At least not involved in any projects the public would be aware of.
So,
Also, I
despite
love-
Troy never
I
saying
love guys'
that dreams
sketchy lines.
predate Robo Knight's appearance,
It's
the
been
others
so
immediately
so
started
long
using him
since
as a
they've been
human-shaped magic
appropriate to
8-ball.
do, but
He
that was so
explains
much
that the
fun.
dreams apparently have lower resolution than the average smartphone, which is why he didn't bring
But
them
yeah,
up
this was
before,
sort of
and that he can't be sure which
an
side
experimental
Robo Knight will be
episode,
fighting
because
on in the upcoming
the Squee,
epic battle. Admiral Malfoy
just like the
was
Squee
worried,
followed him to the
but Brock
housewarming
suggests
party,
they turn
here
Robo
the Squee
Knight to
follows
their
him
side, and V-Rock's
out to this
before
party,
heading down to Earth and calling
and
forth a
or
monster
out to this
from the
restaurant, and full on
Wait, Psycho what?
records a
Psycho
completely
tick.
Ah.
Of course, he doesn't look anything like a tick. And
a
nothing
completely
beyond his name seems
impromptu
linked to
review,
insectoids.
something that he
If
hadn't
anything,
like
it looks much
planned
more
out in
like
advance
Kappa,
or
the
anything like
Japanese
that.
river demon that today's turtles are often mistaken
And
for
so
an
I was doing that to sort of
which
set
makes me wonder if
the
these terrestrial
groundwork
Database.
for the whole alphabet soup plot line that we have coming on later on. This episode right here is really
the Japanese river demon
working
monster
hard
attacks
to
the
lay the
Panorama City
groundwork
amusement park,
for
which is something I never actually thought I'd say
for
after
the
the
summer
episode.
season.
And the Rangers morph to stop him from draining the park's power.
And
At
it
first,
also
Psycho
kind of
Tick
threw me
has
off
the
because
upper
I
hand,
was
but Robo Knight soon
intending
arrives to join the
to
fray.
Unfortunately,
not only does he
to make it
reject
to the
the
end
help
of
Rangers, but when the monster
that the
fires off
spring
his
season
tick
would
attack,
synchronize
Environment
with
9000 acts
Megaforce.
in direct opposition
So
to
the
Good
next
Samaritan.
4 episodes, which are all classic episodes, at the time I thought were going to be 4 more Megaforce episodes. So I was sort of scrambling a little bit at this stage.
Never mind.
So the Rangers have their hands full protecting the civilians that Robo Knight keeps recklessly
And-
putting in harm's way.
And I love that
meaning when one of Captain
Guy
Bucky's
and
enemy
Mayo
ticks
are just so
finally makes
weirded
contact,
out by
they're
Database
powerless
doing
to stop it from capturing
impressions,
the prone Crusader. They meet with
um,
Gosei in the Mega Cave to
which
track
which
down
we have established
because
in
that's
universe in this
apparently
episode
something
now
you
that
know.
whenever you hear a quote while Database
Your
is
impressions are disturbing in their accuracy.
Although Jake
your
knew without
depressions
it
are
was
disturbing in their
reckless
accuracy.
Troy convinces the rest of the team that Robo
That
Knight
he's
is
able
one
to
of them.
perfectly
and
recreate
can't
these
just be
episodes when
banned.
describing them,
And I'm sure that the danger of having an
Um,
extremely powerful weapon in enemy hands
which is so much fun.
No, I'm
Because this
pretty sure
also
they're
set
sticking with the power of
great
friendship.
groundwork for way later in episodes
How are they planning to find him?
61 and 62.
By looking.
What,
Or sorry,
Power
62,
or something?
62 and 63, I believe.
You're kidding, right?
Nope. Turns out
Where
that
he,
Brock had Robo Knight locked up in a cage, sitting in the
where
middle of
he
an airport.
acts as the whole Weekend at Bernie's
He tries to
marionette
get loose, but with the
ventriloquist
monster's energy
act
tick
for
draining his
Dr.
fuel cell,
C.
it
This
looks like he won't be
establishes
going
that skill
anywhere
set,
anytime soon.
which wasn't
Then
intended to
Robo
set that up. I
Knight's
didn't have that idea until much later, but I love that this
Brock sends Psycho
gave
Tick
me
to
those tools for
prevent
later
the Rangers
use.
from coming to his rescue. That didn't make any sense, did it?
No.
Regardless, Psycho Tick starts draining the power of everything in the city. And by everything, he apparently means
And-
everything powered by electricity, since all the people seem otherwise fine.
Yep.
Even with the occasional flying bread to the face.
What?
Never mind. It's around this time that Troy finds Robo
I also just
somehow.
really
Maybe
enjoy
Brock's
whenever I
thinking
get to do
something
the
outside of walking distance.
whole
Because
review
apparently
describing the
Rangers
episode to
abandoned
somebody
their
in
friends.
universe without people actually watching the episode usually
No,
ends up
it kinda
turning
sounds
into
like a
something
RoboCop
silly.
impersonation, but it's kind of reminding me of something else right now.
I will name him George, and I will hug him and
Oh, the good old Looney Tunes bit.
Exactly.
Slash.
Dude, you're really good at these impressions.
Thanks. Despite the fact that he just took out the
Also,
Encyclopedia
Database being
General 2
bashful
episodes
due
ago,
to his
Brock
little
tells
crush on
Troy that
Mayo
he's
is
not strong enough to defeat him alone, and that the Rangers' weakness is always trying to protect everyone, including Robo Knight.
But yeah, the
Didn't
fact
you
they
just
keep
say a minute
forgetting
ago Brock
that they
was
can
convinced
teleport
the
is
Rangers wouldn't
ridiculous.
show up?
Yeah, and he actually said it again right before Troy got there.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's our most intelligent villain at the moment. So while Brock and Troy
Megaforce,
the others tend to
yeah, this
psycho-take
was
the
really,
lead,
and
with Gia leading the way
just
by
kind of again highlighted
nodding and
how
having the others run on ahead
random Megaforce
for some
was.
reason. At which point the monster
It was
abandons
not a
his
great
duties to
note
return
for
to
them
Brock.
to end on going into the hiatus.
For some reason.
Not that the following episode is really much better at all.
Teaming up so they can catch up to Troy and Robo Knight. Although Troy never let anyone know they found Robo Knight. And Noah and Emma tricked the rest of the Loogies into shooting.
There's so much.
Oh, they just pulled the old trick where they let themselves get surrounded by the enemies and then duck.
These creatures are not a substantial threat, are they?
Nope. So just as Brock is about to defeat Troy, Psychotic teleports in to help
It's
finish him off.
so fun getting all these little commentary from people who
Then
aren't
why did he go
in the
back?
loop on the
I
series.
have no idea.
At least we get a cool 2-on-1 battle, right?
Actually, this is when the other Rangers arrive to help Troy.
How?
How what?
How did they get there?
They ran?
They ran to a place they hadn't found to save someone they didn't know was in trouble, and they completed a battle of their own in the same amount of time it took someone else to instantly teleport there.
This episode is making less sense the more I talk about it.
If it's any consolation,
And-
it didn't make much sense to begin with.
And that whole bit about how this episode made less sense the more I talked about it. That is exactly how I felt while writing the script. I was like trying to break down what was happening in this episode for the script. I'm just like, wait, no, that didn't make sense. Wait, no, that didn't make sense. Wait, no, that didn't make sense either.
The Rangers are on the verge of defeat.
Also, beyond just appreciating that Tom was willing to sit in the background for all these scenes, MJ and Dave and I, along with Tom, the location for this episode is the student union at the college that MJ and I graduated from. And I want to make sure that we would be able to film at a time when nobody else would be there to interrupt. So we actually woke up at like 3 a.m. and we're actually sitting in this student union at 4 in the morning filming this. And we finished just as people were starting to show up to like grab their breakfast and whatnot. So this was commitment.
Yeah, I'll explain later. So the three Zords combined.
I won't explain later.
Zord to briefly imitate the WWE before unleashing a barrage of missiles.
And we actually had another friend who
was
who I communicated with and I was hoping would be able to be part of this episode as a waitress. And she was going to be sort of a parallel with Adele from Power Rangers in Space, bringing the order of fries and saying how they're the best fries. And I ended up cutting that bit because I never heard back from her, and I even messaged her to see if she would be able to join us, and she never messaged me back. So when we went there, I didn't know if we were actually going to have somebody join us as a waitress character. So we just ran through it, cut out the bits where we would have had it, and I had the alternate line for Guy about how they can't get any service in this restaurant. So that
how that tangled mess ever made sense to you to begin with? No, I'm all right. It's just it still is an average Megaforce episode.
That
the only good things
that does get really kind of introspective.
These aren't as glaring as Robo Knight's original introduction, or magical random singing powers, or which I still haven't gotten over. Overall, Megaforce may be a step up from Samurai in terms of characterization and recontextualization of footage, but this unplanned mid-season finale just serves to highlight how much difficulty they're having with even the simplest stories once they step away from imitating the Sentai. Or as Admiral Malkor puts it,
like,
Do you feel a little better now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to just
It's and I like the parallel of how the nonsense of Megaforce kind of goes hand in hand with the nonsense of his life.
I'm out of Megaforce episodes right now.
Well, how many older episodes haven't you reviewed?
726 plus or minus 1, depending on if you count Clash of the Red Rangers as a single episode, two-parter, or a special movie.
That is such a me answer.
Does anyone actually work here?
Yes, there we go. Does anyone actually work here?
Fair enough.
That line was very much added in when we realized that we weren't going to have a waitress
And I'm
character
sure
there.
you and Guy would do great together.
What?
Database was very much hoping that it was going to be Mayo that he was.
Previously on
Nope.
Power
Nope.
Rangers.
Nope. Not trying to start it over. So yes, obviously Database was hoping that Mayo meant that she would be joining him, but not. But that's not quite the way it panned out. And I thought that I gave it quite a bit of thought in terms of what would be the proper sequence for the subsequent co-hosts, and I felt like it made sense with Guy being the first one up. That he was the first character introduced. He would be the first one up, followed by Mayo, followed by the more Potsners. Plus, it felt like if there was only one, if we were going to treat it like only one person was available, like we weren't going to be able to convince Guy to do it after somebody else had already agreed to do it. So it made sense in universe for Guy to be the first as well. So I had wrestled a lot with what was going to be the first classic episode to be covered, because my original intent was, okay, I was going to run through episode 13 of Megaforce, because that's how far I thought they were going to make it, and then as soon as that ended, I was going to jump into Dr. K being the first classic episode to review, because it made the most sense in universe. But because I already had the plot in mind that the Dr. K review was going to be during the beginning of the Alphabet Soup arc, I then had to scramble to think, okay, what is going to be the most appropriate episodes for each of these characters, or sets of characters in the case of the more Potsners. So, Idol from SPD, which is the next review that we'll be taking a look at, just ended up being the episode that made the most sense for Guy to cover, is really what it came down to. I couldn't think of a better, more suitable episode for Guy's character at that stage in his development. In case anyone was wondering how I came up with the decision of what was going to be covered next. And yeah, I wanted to make sure that it would be, and that was the other reason, Scott. It wasn't just that the plot seemed appropriate and the tone seemed appropriate. It was also that SPD, by being from the future, would be a team that Guy wouldn't have intimate knowledge of already. Technically speaking, Lost Galaxy would have made sense as well, but I think SPD was a better fit. And I didn't want to jump into RPM until I had that Dr. K episode. So there were definitely a lot of little bits of juggling what was and was not going to work at this stage. And episode 28, watching it again all these years later, I'm still very proud of this episode. Because it was sort of our first real, location episode, where it wasn't just over at, our first actual location episode was with the more Potsner's housewarming party, but that was one where we had a lot of control over the situation. Justin and Sarah, set up their whole place to make it fit with their characters. They went through changing all their books and putting all the weird decorations in there. But for this episode, this was our first bit of sort of guerrilla filmmaking on location, where we had to go to some place where we didn't have any set agreement. It was just, okay, this is just a college location where, no one's going to have trouble with us being here and filming here, but we have no real control over things. So for many of the cases where we were filming at the college, which we do throughout the whole Alphabet Soup arc, we would have to be filming at very strange hours to make sure that we weren't getting random people coming and going in the background that may have interfered with our sound or with our continuity. It was definitely a crazy balancing act as the show progressed through those episodes. And this was sort of our first test run of that. And if there's one thing that you probably have picked up as I've been talking about all these past episodes was I was always trying to be like, okay, I know I want to do this crazy thing down the line. Let me try a less crazy version of that in an earlier episode to make sure that I can actually do it. So that was why I needed to try and test out, okay, I know I'm going to be filming on this location a lot for the Alphabet Soup arc. Let's have a trial run with the restaurant. And this can be a trial run with having the background, and this can also foreshadow Alphabet Soup with the introduction of the T agents. So there's all sorts of different things and also foreshadowing with Guy and his Prius, so that could further throw suspicion on Guy for when Database interacts with him more later. So, all that said, I know I've got a lot of stuff going on this weekend. I'm sure many of you are in the same boat. And I do look forward to jumping in to the wacky co-host roundup across the next 3 episodes, including one of the episodes that is still probably one of my favorite things I've written, which is the musical episode. I will always be self-conscious about my voice in that episode, but I do love the lyrics that we came up with. So, all that said, let's not forget our remaining 3 equally non-controversial phrases. So, number 1, say it with me, chat. Love is love. Number 2, say it with me, chat. Trans rights are human rights. And number 3, say it with me, chat. Robots are cool. Even when they're having serious existential crises and need to be taken out for just a little bit of outdoor time. Alright. So, congratulations on being out of school, Lex. And thank you to all of you who have once again joined me this week for my continued walks down memory lane as I look back on my own bizarre expressions of my psyche. Which I will continue to explore in depth and hopefully come out the other side a little better about. Oh yeah, next time around we'll be kicking off Pride Month. So happy Pride to all of you. And thank you again for joining me. And until next time, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.